guys, it's Vicky, and I have a vlog idea that I want to try out. And I've had this idea for a while, but was kind of trying to figure out how to execute it and how to make it work for me. But basically, around Christmas time, I gifted myself something that put this idea in my head. And what I got is hanging over on my wall over here, which I'll show you like a close-up of in a second. But it's called the 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime scratch-off poster. And so what it is, it's 100 books that, I don't know who compiled this list or whatever, but it's a list of 100 books that apparently are epic. And if you've read them, you like scratch them off like a scratch off, and it like reveals these interesting little covers. Some of which I might add are kind of spoilery, so I won't say which ones, but some of them when I scratched them off, I was like, wow, that kind of tells you like the way the book ends or whatever, like, okay. But anyways, so I, like I said, bought myself this thing because I just thought it would be a cool addition to my library decor. And I scratched everything off, and I wrote it down, so excuse me, I have to look at my little paper here. There ended up being 41 books on this little poster that I haven't read. And right off the bat, there's already a couple that I'm like, no, I'm absolutely not going to read these. Because just they don't interest me, or I'm still on the fence about. There's a couple I'm on the fence about, and a couple that I'm like, absolutely not. Excuse if you hear noises. My cat has taken it upon herself to destroy the blinds. What are you doing, Juno? What is happening? Why are you doing this when I start filming? Okay, are you quite finished? Okay, thanks. So anyway, so the books that I am hard no about are Moby Dick, no thank you. I don't really care about reading a book about a whale. I don't care at all about Outlander. I know that that was the second book, like it came in second place for the Great American Read on PBS. And I was just like, okay, because that book just does not sound appealing to me. It just doesn't. So that's a no also. And the other one that I'm putting as no, it's because I'm almost done with it, is The Chronicles of Narnia. I'm going to be finishing that book, that series, I should say, very soon. I have just the last book to read. So then the books, I have a couple books I'm on the fence about. There's 3. The first one is Emma by Jane Austen. That one I am on the fence about because I read Pride and Prejudice and I didn't enjoy it. And I know that's like a beloved classic. Most people absolutely love Pride and Prejudice, and I did not. So I'm kind of on the fence about whether I want to give Jane Austen another try. And I don't know if Emma is the one to do that with or not. But so I'm on the fence about Emma. I'm on the fence about War and Peace only because of the length. I didn't hate Tolstoy's writing. I read Anna Karenina. The writing was fine. It was long, but it was fine. And I just don't know. But I just don't know if War and Peace. I don't know if it's something I want to read right now. That's for sure. And then the last one is The Sun Also Rises by Hemingway. Excuse me, Junos, what are you doing? Why? It's because I'm filming, isn't it? You're like, oh, you're filming? I need to be disruptive. Why? What are you doing? Okay, so Hemingway, I read, what was it I read? I can't even think about what. A Farewell to Arms. There we go. I read A Farewell to Arms and I did not like it at all. I didn't like the way that he wrote women. And so, but then I have read The Old Man and the Sea. And that one I didn't mind so much, but I don't know if there were any women in that book, so maybe that's why I didn't mind it so much. So I don't know if I like Hemingway. I don't know if he's for me. So I'm like, do I want to try to read The Sun Also Rises? So that's also like on the maybe pile. But anyway, my idea for this vlog is to, at random, like, put some of these titles in a TBR jar of sorts and like randomly pick one and then read it and vlog about it. So it's something I'm thinking about doing. And what's funny about this is a lot of the books, there's quite a few that I have no idea what they are. I've never heard of them. So it'll be interesting if I choose those. Some examples for you. I have never heard of, let me look, now I have to look. Midnight's Children. No, and I don't have the authors written down right now. Midnight's Children, no idea what that is. What's another one that did not in the slightest like ring a bell? A Suitable Boy. I have no idea what that is. So some of these, they could be interesting. So my plan is to make a little TBR jar out of these. I'm gonna write them on little pieces of paper, put them in a jar, randomly pick one, and then I might turn this into like a vlog series, but we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of scared because if I do pick one that is kind of scary to me, like War and Peace, I don't know. I might have to, you know, alter things if I pick one that I'm just not ready for right now. But then there's a lot on here that I really do want to read, such as The Count of Monte Cristo. Even though it's huge, I do want to read that at some point. I've always been interested in reading Grapes of Wrath. That's on here. There's a couple of, I think there's a couple of Dickens on here, which I have enjoyed him in the past. So like David Copperfield is on here, and I believe Oliver Twist. Oh, actually, and I think A Tale of Two Cities is also on here. So there's a couple. So yeah, there are definitely some that are on my kind of check-off list. So this is a good way, I think, to make myself read them at some point. So anyways, so yeah, I'm going to finish writing them on little Post-its, and then I'm gonna pick one. And I don't know how obscure these are, some of them. Like I said, some of them I haven't heard of. So I don't know how hard it's gonna be to get some of these. So I don't know if I wanna buy them necessarily. I think I'm gonna be utilizing my library for this little adventure. So yeah, we'll just see, let's just wait and see what I pick. So I'll be back when I'm ready to pick one from my little jar. Okay, so I'm back. I hand wrote all of the titles on little Post-its, little colorful Post-its. And I had a hard time finding something to put them in, so my classy self put them in this silicone wine cup, and we are gonna choose one. Now, before I choose, I just need to, once again, apologize for some of these. I don't know, I've never heard of them, or I've heard the title, have no idea what it is. I don't know anything about the author. I may mispronounce names. I apologize. Okay, so I'm kind of scared, you guys. If I get War and Peace, I'm putting it back. I'm just telling you that right now. Okay, let's see what I get. Oh my god, I'm scared. Okay, let's go with a green one. There's like three or four different colors in here. Okay. Whew, here we go. I'm scared. I'm scared. What did I get? What did I get? What did I get? Oh god, it's stuck. Okay. Okay, I got Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. Don't know a lot about this. I think it's a war story, but let me pull up the Goodreads synopsis so that I know for sure. Okay, here's the synopsis according to Goodreads. Set in Italy during World War II, this is the story of the incomparable, malingering bombardier Rosarian, a hero who is furious because thousands of people he has never met are trying to kill him. Such is war. But his real problem is not the enemy. It is his own army, which keeps increasing the number of missions the men must fly to complete their service. Yet if Yossarian makes any attempt to excuse himself from the perilous missions he's assigned, he'll be in violation of Catch-22, a hilariously sinister bureaucratic rule. A man is considered insane if he willingly continues to fly dangerous combat missions, but if he makes a formal request to be removed from duty, he is proven sane and therefore ineligible to be relieved. So that's where like people use that phrase, Catch-22. And so up at the top, it also mentions that it is a cornerstone of American literature, one of the funniest and most celebrated books of all time, and in recent years has been named to best novels lists by Time, Newsweek, and so on. So I was right, it is a war story. That's all I knew about it. So this one, I'm gonna look also on Goodreads to see. I don't know how long this is. I don't feel like it's a super, okay, it's 450 pages. Okay, all right, at least it's not 1,000. Let's be positive. So yeah, and this one I think is a fairly easy one to get hold of. I can probably get it from the library or buy it. I don't know if I can find, you know, a cheaper paperback version or something. I may even be able to find the audiobook on Scribd or from my library, who knows. So, okay, I guess it's gonna be Catch-22, guys, and you're gonna come on the journey with me, and we're gonna see what it's all about. And I'm gonna be able to, hopefully in the end, scratch that one off of my poster. Sorry if you hear like cat meowing in the background. The girls, and by the girls I mean Morgan and Juno, cat and dog, are having a disagreement like they tend to do. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna work on getting a copy of Catch-22, and I will check in with you guys once it gets here, once I start it, whenever that will be. So it has been about a month since I filmed the intro to this vlog, but it's finally happening. I got a copy of Catch-22 from the library because I was hesitant to buy it because if I don't end up liking it, I just didn't want to spend the money on it, just in case I end up not liking it. So I have only read the introduction, which usually when I read classics, I try to read the introduction because, you know, it just gives you that kind of extra context and background and stuff, especially if it's a classic you don't know a lot about, and that was definitely the case with this one for me. And it seems like it's going to be an interesting book. The introduction kind of definitely makes me feel like it's going to have some humor, although I don't know if I'm going to get it in a way, because it seems like people that read this book that really identify with it and find it hilarious tend to be people who were in the military and just kind of get what it's like to be in that environment, and I don't have that experience. So I hope I get the humor in it and all of that. And yeah, I am a little, like I said, I'm a little bit nervous about this one, only because I just don't know if it's gonna connect. But yeah, it seems like this one definitely, it was written and published in 1961, I believe, and it's a World War II story. So a lot of people that initially read this book, and I think the reason it became so big was because you had people, World War II vets, that read this and enjoyed it. But then you also had, we were kind of on the cusp of Vietnam, beginnings of Vietnam, and into the 60s, obviously Vietnam was a thing, and so a lot of people that were involved in the Vietnam War read this and also got a lot out of it. So it'll be interesting for me, again, because I'm not a military person at all, but I'm interested to see what it's all about, and I hope I find it funny. I hope I get the humor. So all right, guys, I'm gonna crack into this and I'll give you an update later. Okay, so I am about 50 pages into Catch-22, and so far I'm understanding it. I did definitely go on to Spark Notes to kind of go over the summary and stuff of the first 5 chapters, which is like the first 50 pages, to make sure that I was picking up what it was throwing down, that I wasn't missing anything, and so far so good. I'm doing okay. Classics, I always feel like when you read them, there is a lot of stuff going on that you can miss. So I'm definitely not ashamed to say that, yeah, if I'm reading a classic, I will double check on like a place like Spark Notes to make sure I'm getting everything out of it. And this is like interesting so far because you're dealing with these men that are in the military. They're fighting World War II, and World War II, it seems like when you look back at the history, was a time where people were super patriotic about it, you know, where the country really like got together, and abroad and at home, at least, you know, in the United States, I can say for sure, you know, you had like the Rosie the Riveter types and just all of the kinds of things like that that were going on. And then the men overseas, I don't know, I had this impression that they were just super patriotic, concerned about, you know, doing the right thing and kind of like behind the cause, you know, stopping the Nazis, blah, blah, blah. And the characters in this book are not that. The characters in this book are very unpatriotic. They're the opposite of what I would have expected. And I guess that's just kind of my naivety about people in the military, that sometimes to them, and I'm not saying that they're not patriotic, but that in cases like this where you had men that were often drafted and kind of forced to go over there, they aren't necessarily doing it for the reasons you think they're doing it, and they often are just more concerned about basic things like getting paid and going home, and they don't really think, at least the characters in this book, they don't really think much about why they're there, the broader, you know, picture. They're more just like looking at like how the war has affected them personally. And I don't know, and again, I'm not saying that this is like my blanket observations of people who are fighting in a war, but the characters in this book, that is definitely what's going on. You definitely get a sense of like, they don't want to be there. They're doing everything they can to get out of having to do these bombing missions or whatever, because they don't want to be there. They just kind of want to, you know, fill in their quotas and go home. And the higher establishment is basically preventing that from happening because they keep raising the number of missions that they have to do. So they're just kind of stuck there. And so they're doing various things to get out of having to do these missions, or various things to get out of just having to be there in these combat zones, I guess. So they'll do like random things to like go to the hospital, because then they can just kind of relax for a few days and get their meals brought to them and just lay in bed. It's like a vacation for them. So it's just really interesting, because I was expecting, like I said, I was just expecting more patriotism, and it's just not here in this book. This is about more the kind of the BS of war, and like the those kinds of crazy, ridiculous, bureaucratic rules, and how they make no sense. And that's what this book is talking about. So, so far, I'm keeping up with it. I'm understanding. There's a lot of characters. Every chapter, I feel like you're introduced to at least a new character. So I'm assuming hopefully that's going to kind of level out, and we'll start to get a little bit more story. But right now, you're just getting a lot of backstory about these men and their experience in this war. So yeah, it's definitely not exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting a little bit of satire, and maybe some of the characters to be like how all of the characters are in this. But there literally has been one character who was seen as like patriotic and very like, yeah, America, and everybody else didn't like him. Like, they're like, get out of here, dude. And so it's just interesting. So yeah, I'm not hating it. I'm not like totally loving it, but I'm not hating it. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going, and we'll just see what happens. Hey, so it's been like a week since I've checked in with you guys for this vlog. I know for you guys it's been like a second, but it's been about a week, and I'm finally halfway through Catch-22. So yeah, this is definitely a slower paced book. It's just, it is what it is. It's not that I'm not enjoying it, it's just slower, you know? So yeah, I'm halfway through, and there's just like a lot going on in this. First of all, in this like early part here, this first half, there's a lot of jumping around in time, which normally I have no problem with. I have no trouble keeping track of, but in this book, Joseph Heller doesn't make it clear that, okay, this chapter is taking place in the past or whatever. And so at first you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Because you're reading about things that you're like, wait, this was talked about like it already happened, in the previous chapter or whatever, and now it's happening. And what kind of kept me grounded into like where we are in time was how many missions the men were doing at that time. Because like, for example, in the present day, they're up to, I think, 60 missions that they have to complete before they can, you know, go home or whatever. But then like there's a chapter where, oh, okay, it's at 35. So then you're like, okay, I know I'm in the past, and like that kind of stuff. So yeah, the jumping around was a little bit jarring, but was also kind of effective just in kind of showing you the chaos of it all and like, and all of that. And so that was a little tricky. Lots of different characters, getting them sorted out has been kind of tricky. But I'm kind of now halfway through, am settling into the narrative style and the characters, and it's okay. It's okay. It's definitely humorous, and I'm definitely picking up on some of the humor. It is just sort of like this like ridiculousness to kind of show you just how ridiculous war can be, really. Though it does have its serious moments. Like there's a specific chapter where they do this particular mission that is pretty intense, where you're like, okay, this isn't a joke, like there's nothing funny about this. But all the other things, just sort of their kind of day-to-day riffraff is often funny. So like the best thing I could kind of compare it to, even though I don't know if this is a proper comparison because I've never actually watched this show, but it seems like it's kind of like the show MASH, but it was basically about these, you know, these soldiers who are over fighting this war, and it's kind of about their day-to-day, and I'm sure it had its serious moments, but it for the most part was a comedy, right? I don't know, because I haven't watched MASH. Maybe I should, because maybe I would like it, because if it's like this, I might like it. I don't know. So yeah, this is an interesting book. A slow book though. Definitely not a page turner. Definitely not one that I can sit down and knock out even like 30 pages in a sitting. It's like 10 to 20 pages in a sitting, but I am enjoying it still. So I'm gonna keep going. Yeah, there's just a lot. It focuses a lot, like I said, on just the ridiculousness of war, and some of the things that people just have to deal with. The people, also like the interpersonal dramas and such, and then bigger things like how often in war things like death are not viewed as seriously or seem as impactful, because they see it so much that it just kind of is a thing that happens. You know, they kind of get used to it, and those sorts of things where like we as like civilians or people that don't see death a lot, when someone dies, it's like a big deal. Just like things like that. So yeah, I'm just working my way through it, guys. I'm working my way through it. It is taking longer than I thought, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm just gonna keep working. So yeah, when I have more to report, I will check back. All right, so I finally finished Catch 22 by Joseph Heller. This took quite a while, almost 3 weeks for me to complete this book, 450 pages. So it was definitely a slow go. And ultimately, I don't think it was a bad book. I thought I had a lot of interesting things to say about what it is like to fight in a war on a more personal level, because we saw that a lot with our main character. He wasn't super concerned with the overall reason that America was over fighting World War II. He was more concerned about, you know, I want to like live to see the end of this war and go home. And he was just, I think, like any human being, very just concerned with his safety. And he really felt like the enemy in this situation was not necessarily the Nazis or anything. It was the people above him who just kept putting him in these dangerous, life-threatening situations. And he came to see them as the enemy and the villains. So it was really interesting, and the satire was good. I was worried at the beginning that I wasn't maybe gonna pick up on it, but I think I did, and I enjoyed it. My criticisms of this book are basically the narrative style was interesting. It is not a linear style. until more towards the end. So you do spend a lot of time kind of trying to figure out where you are in time because it's not told in order. But I think what kind of kept me going was there are certain incidences that are hinted at as the story progresses that you keep reading to kind of see what happens with that particular instance. And you do get that in the climax of the book in particular. Some of your questions are finally answered at things that were hinted at all along. But because of that, the narrative style is a little tricky and kind of hard to follow sometimes. And so I liked it and it made sense for the story, but it also was confusing. I also wasn't a huge fan of the way women were portrayed in this book. And I don't know, this book was released in 1961. I know people's views on women have changed. And so I know you can arguably say, well, for the time period, that was how women were viewed or whatever, but I just hated it. How most of the characters in this are men, which is not a surprise. You're talking about, you know, soldiers that are overseas, and they are predominantly men. But the women that were in this book, I just didn't like the way, it wasn't necessarily the way, I guess it was the way that the male characters treated them that I was just not cool with. Like, for example, there's a character who is telling a story about how back home he was in a fraternity and how one night for fun they locked two girls in the fraternity house for 10 hours and basically raped them for a good time. And I was just like, really? Oh, okay. And then another instance, our main character is in the hospital, one of the many times he goes to the hospital to try to get out of flying these dangerous missions. And he has a nurse that is trying to obviously take care of him. That's her job. And when she approaches him to, I think, like take his vitals or something like that, he like grabs her like between the legs. And when she jumps away from him, like the other guy kind of across the aisle from him also grabs her, and she's like shrieking and like, you know, freaking out, understandably. And they're just like laughing like it's funny. And then I think she ends up dating one of the soldiers, or it might even be like the main character. And I was just like, really? Like, I don't know, just that kind of objectifying of the women I was not a fan of. And I know, like I said, people can kind of argue that away, like, oh, it was in that time period, whatever, and then you have a bunch of dudes who are away at war. Boys will be boys, but to me, I'm just like, no, I'm not buying it. I don't like it. So that really bothered me because, I don't know, it just bothered me. So I think overall, this is a 3-star read for me. I didn't love it, for sure didn't love it, but I didn't hate it because I do like what it had to say about war. And I liked the satire. I liked some of the humor. And just basically, for the most part though, I do see why it is on this 100 epic reads list because of what it has to say about war. Because it's not a pro-war story at all. And but it's an important story and one that I think most people, I don't want to say should read it, but if it's something that interests you, you should check it out because it does have merit. But like I said, it does also have its problems, and the narrative style definitely is not for everybody. But again, for the time period, with it being published in 1961, I just think it really spoke to a lot of readers because we were entering a war, on the cusp of entering a war, another war, and so, you know, war was kind of on the minds of everyone. And so this had relevance, and yeah, and the writing's not bad. I don't know if I would ever read Joseph Heller again. I'm not sure. I would have to think about it. But this one, yeah, it wasn't awful. I will say that. So it was a 3-star read right in the middle. If it is something that interests you, I think you should check it out. But yeah, that's that. So I can now scratch off Catch-22 on my poster. And that's kind of a good feeling. That was kind of the whole point of this vlog series, is to work on reading some of those books that maybe I should be on my radar that I might not be aware of, or that I might not automatically gravitate towards, but end up getting something out of. And this was one of those books. So yeah, I'm excited to scratch that off. And I'll probably be back. I'm gonna put this down. I will probably be back, I don't know when. This is definitely a vlog series I want to continue to do. So maybe in the coming months I will try this again. I'll get up my trusty old cup and pick another book and read it and see how it goes. But yeah, I also am aware that Hulu has a series based on Catch-22. It's called Catch-22. And I don't know if I'm gonna watch it or not. I might try it out, why not? Just to kind of compare and see what they do with it. I watched the trailer and it seems like it's gonna be a spot-on adaptation. So we'll see about that. I guess I'll let you guys know in the future if I do end up watching that and what I thought of it. So, all right. I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. It was a fun little experiment to do and one that I definitely want to keep doing. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a great week and I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching.